You want to know why wealthy people in my family perform a specific morning ritual before they start their day? It's not superstition. It's not some strange religious thing. It's one of the most powerful wealth-building habits that's been deliberately ignored by most people for their entire lives. I'm going to reveal something today that will change everything you think you know about money, success, and why certain families build generational wealth while others struggle paycheck to paycheck their entire lives. My grandfather taught me this when I was 19 years old. His father taught it to him. This knowledge has been passed down through my family for generations. What I'm about to share with you isn't theory. It isn't some motivational speech designed to make you feel good for a few hours. This is a practical, actionable method that I've personally used to transform my own financial reality and that I've taught to hundreds of people over the years. And it works regardless of your religion, your background, your education level, or where you're starting from today. Now here's what's important. The practice I'll reveal isn't magic. It's psychology, discipline, and strategic thinking combined into a daily routine. But you need to stay with me until the end, because if you miss even one element, if you skip even one principle, you won't get the full benefit. I learned this when I was 19 years old, 3 days after my grandfather called me into his study. I remember the smell of old books, the way he looked at me with those intense eyes that seemed to see straight through to my soul. He said something I'll never forget. He said, "We don't work for money. We make money work for us." And it all begins with understanding what money truly is. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. Money was money. You earned it. You spent it. You saved it if you were smart. What else was there to understand? But then he explained something that changed my entire perspective. This wasn't just spiritual knowledge. This was practical wisdom that had allowed our family to survive and thrive through every economic downturn, every financial crisis, every attempt to destroy what we'd built. He made me promise 2 things that night. First, that I would practice this wisdom every single day of my life. And second, that when the time was right, I would share this knowledge with others who were truly ready to receive it. The time is now. And if you're still listening, you're ready. The first time I actually saw this work with my own eyes, I was 23 years old. I had just finished university and I was completely broke. I'm talking checking the cushions of my couch for coins broke. I had tried everything the world told me to try. I applied for jobs that never called back. I tried to start a small business that failed within 3 months. I even asked family members for help, which was humiliating. Nothing worked. Then I remembered exactly what my grandfather had taught me. I followed the exact method, the same one I'm going to teach you today. I changed my morning routine. I performed the practice at the precise time. I spoke the affirmations with complete conviction. Within 48 hours, I received an unexpected check in the mail from an old insurance policy I had completely forgotten about. 3 days later, a man I had met briefly at an event called me and offered me a position at his company. Within 1 month, my entire financial situation had transformed completely. That's when I knew with absolute certainty that this wasn't just philosophy. This was real, tangible, measurable power. My grandfather taught me that there are psychological laws governing wealth creation. These laws existed before modern psychology was invented, before self-help books were written, before any financial guru appeared. Our family discovered these laws through generations of observation, study, and practice. When you align yourself with these laws, you're not fighting against the current anymore. You're flowing with the force that governs all abundance. And that's when what others call luck starts to become your normal daily experience. I know exactly what you're going through right now. I know because I've talked to hundreds of people just like you over the years. And I've heard the same story repeated so many times that I could tell it myself. You wake up every morning with a weight on your chest. Before your feet even touch the floor, you're already thinking about bills, about debts, about obligations you can barely meet. You work hard, probably harder than most people around you. You do everything you're supposed to do. But no matter what you try, the money situation never truly changes. Some months are a little better. Some months are a little worse, but you never break through. You never reach that point where money flows easily, where you're not constantly calculating whether you can afford things, where you actually feel financially free. And the worst part? Everyone around you has advice. Your brother-in-law tells you to invest in crypto. Your coworker says you need a side hustle. Some guru on the internet wants to sell you a course about passive income. Just work harder, they say. Just save more. Just think positive. But none of it works, does it? Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. The system you're operating in was never designed for you to win. It was designed by people who already have wealth to ensure they keep it while you remain trapped in a cycle of earning, spending, struggling, and repeating. I see this all the time. People come to me after they've tried everything the modern world offers. Financial advisors who take fees regardless of whether you make money. Investment strategies that work great until they don't. Self-help books that make you feel inspired for a week before you're right back where you started. And it's not your fault. These methods all ignore the fundamental psychological principles that govern wealth accumulation. They treat money as a purely physical phenomenon when in reality money is psychological. It's energy. It's mindset made manifest in physical form. My grandfather used to say that livelihood comes from your mental state. This means that the flow of abundance in your life is governed by psychological laws, not just by how hard you work or how smart your investments are. Most financial advice focuses only on the physical level. How much you earn, how much you save, how much you invest, what your credit score is. But wealth begins at the psychological level. And if you don't address the mental blocks, if you don't activate the right mindset daily, nothing in the physical world will permanently change. You've been told that wealth comes from hard work alone. That if you just put in enough hours, if you sacrifice enough, if you grind enough, eventually you'll make it. That's a lie. I've studied successful people for decades. I've seen what works and what doesn't. I've observed hundreds of people from every background imaginable. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that hard work is necessary but not sufficient. Without the right mindset, hard work just makes you tired. My family understood this truth generations ago. That's why we've been able to rebuild our wealth after every setback. Often from nothing. Often while facing circumstances that would have destroyed other families entirely. It's not because we're smarter. It's not because we work harder. It's because we know principles that most people will never learn. Here's the universal truth that changes everything. The morning ritual I'm about to teach you is one of the most psychologically potent practices you can do. It sets your mindset, it purifies your thinking, it focuses your attention, and it programs your subconscious. When my grandfather first taught me this, I didn't fully grasp the implications. But after years of applying these principles and watching the results, I finally understood. The morning routine is not just a habit. It's a psychological technology that our ancestors mastered over generations. When you combine specific actions with specific intentions, at the specific time of morning when your mind is most receptive, you create a mental state that literally rewires your relationship with abundance. I've personally witnessed this work for people who had been in debt for decades and became completely debt-free within 18 months. I've seen it work for business owners who went from barely surviving to generating more revenue than they ever imagined. I've seen it work for ordinary people who simply wanted to stop worrying about money every single day. And in every single case, they followed the exact method I'm about to teach you. Now I'm going to reveal the exact method. This comes directly from principles that have been practiced by successful families for generations. It's been used by wealthy people to activate and protect wealth. And it works. But before I show you the steps, you need to understand something critical. This is not a game. This is not something you do casually or as an experiment. When you activate these psychological principles, real changes begin to happen. Real energy begins to shift in your life and you will see real results, but only if you follow every step exactly as I teach it. You might be wondering why this specific combination of actions, why these particular steps? The answer goes back to what my grandfather learned from his father, who learned it from his father before him. Successful people discovered through careful observation that certain actions, certain words, certain routines performed at certain times create powerful psychological effects. What I'm teaching you isn't my invention. I'm not clever enough to create something like this. I'm simply passing down what was passed down to me through an unbroken chain of teachers in my family. Every element of this method has a purpose. The morning timing represents new beginnings and peak mental clarity. The physical actions represent your conscious intention interacting with your environment. The specific words represent programming your subconscious mind. When you combine these elements in the right order with the right intention, you create a psychological shift that allows abundance to flow into your physical reality. This is completely different from anything else you've tried for several important reasons. First, it works at the psychological level where all physical action begins. Second, it uses specific elements that have been proven effective for generations. Third, it requires your active participation, meaning you're not just wishing or hoping but actually doing something concrete. Fourth, results come quickly, usually within days, not months. And fifth, you don't need special training. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need to follow the instructions exactly as I give them. Before you begin, you need to prepare yourself mentally. This isn't about being perfect. Nobody is perfect. But it is about being clear and focused. Here's what I tell everyone before they start. First, choose a time when you won't be interrupted. The ideal time is in the last few minutes before sunrise, but if that's not possible, do it within the first hour after you wake up before you eat or drink anything substantial. Water is fine, but no food. Second, make sure you're in a calm state. If you're angry, anxious, or distracted, wait. The energy you bring to this practice matters enormously. Your emotional state affects everything you do. Third, set your intention clearly before you begin. Know exactly what you're asking for. Vague intentions create vague results. You don't need to know every detail of how it will happen, but you need to be clear about what you want to experience. Fourth, trust the process completely. Even if some steps seem strange to you, follow them exactly. Remember, this has worked for generations for thousands of people. Your temporary confusion is not a reason to deviate from the instructions. Are you ready? Good. Here's what you need. The first element you need is salt. Regular salt from the grocery store works fine, but sea salt is better. This distinction is important, and let me explain why. My grandfather taught me that salt represents preservation. It's been used throughout history to preserve valuable things. When you use salt in this ritual, you are symbolically preserving and protecting your wealth. Salt also represents purification. It clears away negative thinking. It clears away scarcity mindset. It clears away all the mental blocks that have kept you stuck. You need approximately 1 tablespoon of salt. You can find this at any grocery store. The second element is water. Pure water if possible. Spring water or filtered water is best. Water represents flow. It represents the flow of abundance into your life. Water also carries your intention. When you use clean water, you're ensuring that your intentions remain clear and powerful. You need 1 small bowl of water, approximately half a cup. Glass or ceramic bowls are preferable to plastic or metal. The third element is your wallet or wherever you keep your primary money. This might seem obvious, but many people keep money in multiple places and aren't sure which to use. Use your main wallet, the one you carry with you daily, the one that touches your money most frequently. Your wallet is not just a container. It's a vessel that holds the energy of your financial life. Every transaction passes through it. By involving your wallet in this ritual, you are directly addressing and transforming your relationship with money at the most intimate level. If you primarily use digital payments and rarely carry cash, still use a physical wallet. Put even a single bill in it for this purpose. The physical representation matters. The fourth element is your own hands. Specifically, both hands washed and dried before beginning. Your hands are the instruments through which you interact with the physical world. They represent action and manifestation. When you perform this ritual, you'll be using both hands in specific ways to symbolize receiving and giving, taking and releasing. Make sure your hands are clean before you begin. Wash them thoroughly. This physical act of cleaning represents mental clearing. The fifth element is morning light. The moment when night transforms into day is one of the most psychologically potent times in the entire 24-hour cycle. It represents renewal, hope, new beginnings. If you absolutely cannot perform this ritual at sunrise, do it at the earliest moment after waking when you're in a calm state. But early morning is ideal and will produce the strongest results. Now here are the exact steps to follow. Step 1. The night before you plan to perform this ritual, place 1 tablespoon of salt in your glass or ceramic bowl. Set the bowl somewhere safe where it will not be disturbed. As you place the salt in the bowl, say these words either aloud or silently with complete conviction. This salt represents preservation and purification. It will help me attract abundance and release all lack. Then leave the salt overnight. This allows it to sit undisturbed, representing patience and the passage of time necessary for growth. Step 2. Wake before sunrise if possible. Wash your hands thoroughly, drying them completely. Sit or stand in a comfortable position facing east if possible, toward where the sun will rise. Step 3. Take your bowl of salt in both hands. Hold it at heart level. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. With each exhale, release any tension, fear, or doubt you're holding about money. Let it go completely. Step 4. Slowly pour the water into the bowl with the salt. Pour it with your right hand while your left hand supports the bowl. As the water mixes with the salt, say these words: as this water and salt unite, so does abundance unite with my life. As this salt preserves and purifies, so is my wealth preserved and purified. As the sun rises, so does my prosperity rise. Feel the truth of these words as you speak them. This is not empty recitation. You must feel it in your body. Step 5. Stir the mixture with your right index finger clockwise 7 times. As you stir, visualize the life you want to live. See yourself paying bills easily. See money flowing to you from expected and unexpected sources. See yourself generous and free from financial worry. Step 6. Dip both hands into the salt water mixture. Let your hands rest in the water for at least 30 seconds. Feel the salt and water on your hands, which are the instruments through which you receive and give money. Step 7. Without fully drying your hands, take your wallet and hold it between your palms. The moisture from the salt water should transfer to the wallet's surface. As you hold your wallet, say, "This vessel attracts abundance. This vessel overflows with blessing. Money flows to me easily and constantly. I am aligned with the universal laws of prosperity." Step 8. Place your wallet in direct morning light as close to the exact moment of sunrise as possible. If you're indoors, place it on a windowsill where the morning light will touch it. Leave it there for at least 10 minutes. While your wallet sits in the morning light, take the remaining salt water outside if possible and pour it on the ground. If you cannot go outside, pour it down the drain with gratitude. Within the first 24 hours, you might feel a sense of lightness or optimism you can't quite explain. You might notice you're thinking about money differently, with less anxiety and more confidence. Within 3 to 7 days, you should start seeing tangible results. This could be an unexpected refund, a forgotten check, someone offering you an opportunity, or a debt becoming easier to resolve. Pay close attention to coincidences, strangers who speak to you, invitations that seem to come from nowhere. Within 30 days, if you performed the ritual correctly and maintained your positive intention, your financial situation should show noticeable improvement. Now I need to give you some critical warnings. First, do not perform this ritual while harboring hatred, jealousy, or ill wishes toward anyone. If you're angry or jealous, deal with those emotions first. Clear your heart before you attempt to clear your finances. Second, do not speak about this ritual to skeptics immediately after performing it. For at least 7 days, keep it private. Give the practice time to take root. Third, you must repeat this ritual consistently. Perform it every week, ideally on the same day, for at least 40 days without missing. This is not a one-time thing, it's a practice that reshapes your financial reality. Let me share something deeper with you now. My grandfather taught me that the source of all wealth is psychological in nature and becomes physical as it manifests in our world. This means that before money appears in your bank account, it exists as mental potential. Before an opportunity comes to you, it exists as a thought pattern. When I first truly understood this teaching, everything in my mind shifted. I realized that trying to get money purely through physical means was like trying to grow a plant by pulling on the leaves. The physical realm is not the cause. It's the effect. The mental realm is where all causes originate. When you perform this morning ritual, you're working at the level of causes. You're opening channels in your mind so that abundance can flow more freely into your physical experience. This is why the results can seem almost miraculous to people who don't understand the principles involved. I'll be honest with you about something personal. There was a period when I neglected my own practice, thinking I didn't need it anymore. Within 2 years, my financial situation deteriorated. I remembered my grandfather's voice saying these practices aren't just for beginners. I returned to the rituals, and within months everything reversed. That taught me that knowing isn't enough. You have to do. Knowledge without practice is worthless. I've taught this to hundreds of people. Factory workers who became business owners. Single mothers who broke poverty patterns. Executives who finally found financial peace. In every successful case, they followed the exact steps without modification. This works because it addresses the root cause of financial struggle, psychology. It's about training your mind to expect abundance, recognize opportunity, act decisively. The morning ritual creates a daily reset. Most people start reactively, checking phones, seeing problems, fighting fires. This ritual starts you creatively, setting tone, establishing mental state, declaring intention before the world makes demands. Wealthy people don't have different circumstances. They have different morning routines. Different mental habits. Different ways of starting each day. This ritual is your entry into that wealthy mindset. Your daily practice of thinking, feeling, acting like someone who already has abundance. When you consistently practice abundance thinking, you become abundant. Not mysticism, psychology. You become what you practice. The question is, will you do it? Will you commit to 40 days without missing? Will you follow the steps exactly? Will you trust the process? If you will, your financial life will transform. If you won't, you'll stay exactly where you are. Start tomorrow morning. Gather materials tonight. Begin. 40 days from now, you'll be different. Not because of magic, but because you'll have trained your mind for abundance every day for 40 days straight. Do it. Start now.